All right, so yesterday I was teaching a student and we were having a discussion about what forms, we were doing traditional martial arts forms in the style I was teaching, and we were having a discussion about what forms teach and what forms don't teach and what the purpose of them are. The way I view it, forms are like, they're like shadow boxing. So, boxers shadow box. You see MMA fighters, they shadow box, or grapplers, they'll do things in the air, they'll practice their techniques, they'll roll around on the ground, they'll do things like that. So forms are just an old traditional way to kind of shadow box, only in a set pattern with set techniques. So basically that's the way I see forms. So forms teach us to have good forms, kata, whatever you want to call them, teach us to have good technique. So just like a shadow boxer, when you're shadow boxing, you're keeping your shoulders up, you're turning, you're rotating your foot, you're doing everything that you need to do to be technically correct in the air. So forms do teach us that. One of my instructors says that they're bad habit breakers. So any bad habits you have, you can correct them by training your forms so that you have your shoulders in the correct position, your body alignment correct, things like that. They're also what he calls a good role model. So, kind of the same idea though. So it's like they are a good role model of the perfect technique when you use it. Now they also speak a language to us that you have to understand, and that's way too in depth for this video. But like the front stance, the forward stance is used to throw the weight forward. There's purposes to all the stances and the way you move, what the pulling hand means, what moving to an angle means, getting 45-degree angle to the opponent. Kicking behind you usually means you get behind the person to do the technique on them. Knowing what all the movements in the forms mean, that's an actual practical thing and not just some, silly thing that someone made up. So you have to understand the language of the form and decode it too to understand what it means. Just like a good boxing instructor would show you why we keep the shoulder up and why we do this and why we move that way and why we shuffle step or why we move as we block, things like that. So you can do it, like aerobic kickboxing, aerobic boxing techniques, to get in shape, but you might not know what you're doing. So when you understand the form, it's the same concept. And then you break away from the form. So you can learn variations of the techniques, or you can understand the principle. So if the principle of the technique is to move in close, then any way you move in close, and you're adhering to the principle. So you can kind of break away from the technique within the form and understand the deeper level of the principle, and that opens you up to hundreds of techniques. So that's all things that the form teaches. So you say, well, that's a lot. That sounds pretty good. But what doesn't the form teach? Well, one thing it doesn't teach is timing. You need to get with a partner. You need to fight or do things under resistant situations to understand the proper timing. Because you might know what to do, but you might not be able to do it at the correct time. So timing is when to move, when to do the technique, when is the right time when they're not aware or their guard is down or whatnot. So you have to know when to move. And that you have to learn through real resistance training with a partner, not in the form. The form also doesn't teach us correct distancing. Our ability to stretch out the opponent and to keep the correct distance to be safe, but also to counterattack. It doesn't have the ability to teach us that. We have to learn that from resistant application on a partner. And it doesn't teach us, it tells us what angle to get, but it's difficult to understand the angling without like sparring with a partner or practicing self-defense scenarios against an aggressive partner. That teaches you correct angling. So timing, distancing, angling, these are things that the forms they don't teach. And a final thing I'll say that they don't teach is how to deal with an aggressive opponent. Like someone who, the form is just you're practicing in air. You're not getting hit. You're not dealing with aggression. You're not dealing with someone coming at you full speed. All the mental components that come with that, all the pain that comes with that, you're not dealing with any of that. So the form doesn't teach us that either. So you have to learn all of that through things, training with a partner, and some prearranged things and freeform kind of randori situations where, sparring situations. So the forms teach us a lot, but they're not the end. They're just the beginning, right? It's just like shadow boxing, just the beginning. when you get in the ring, you're going to be using those techniques, but it's going to be different. You're going to need more than that. So that's what we were talking about in our class yesterday. So I hope you gain some benefit from what we were talking about, and hope you take it to heart, and it helps you grow in your training. So thanks again for watching. Like, share, and subscribe. Please get some more people in here, and let's keep this growing. Thanks.